what literally happens here is that this artificial Tron-based world that people are talking about is the world that they're being transmuted into now, and I'll explain how that happens. It's just like the indigenous says, I know Stickman very well. The indigenous say that there's a chakra that connects us to Earth. And that chakra has a cord to it, like ethereal cord, that's something like our umbilical cord that's cut from our mother. And it allows us to be connected to Earth's communication grid, which is broken, by the way. And then we'll talk about that, of course, much later in different programs, and I've definitely talked about that on the show. But what has happened to the Western state of mind is that this cord is cut. And instead, they're connected by some type of hive mind neural network that connects into an individual and begins to program them. And what that has programmed them to believe is that all of their power has to come from something, one, external, rather than understanding, and also something now inorganic. And we'll talk about this. Because what happens is that when I say I want to communicate with, and I say who I want to communicate with, in this world, this Tron-based world, a person goes and picks up the phone and they dial the number and they say, hey Todd, what's going on? How are you today? Oh, I'm doing really good. But in the actual world, when you want to communicate with someone, you link right through their mind. And this is why in this world that we're using now, where people's abilities have been turned off, that sometimes they call someone and the person's like, hey, man, I was just thinking about you. And it's funny that you called. It's because not only can you just send the signal that, hey, I'm thinking about you, but you can also send the whole message. But this is all based on how powered up your system is. So what also has been going on is that I feel that there's been a breach in psychic security. And I want to put this very clear. People need to understand that our minds are very powerful things, and our psyche is a very powerful thing. And generally, it remains protected. But in this time that we're living in which there's been a lot of propaganda, a lot of frequency, a lot of different things used to penetrate into our subconscious, and even by individuals who have used that to sell macaroni and cheese, that this is cause where the mind has been intruded upon and left gates open and left doors open into the mind. And what these doors do when someone accesses them is it begins to change how you think, feel, believe, etc. And so what society has been manipulating into is a perpetual cycle of death, where they've been made to think and believe that there's these limitations going on. And what they call this in these higher levels of knowledge in secret societies, they call that squaring the circle. Putting a wall around a spirit type being that we're calling the humanoid, mind, body, and soul. So what happens when this begins to take place is that there's a limitation perceived by the individual that is here, like the person is in here. And the reason why I said there's been a breach in a person's psychic security is because you have all these individuals running around and they're initiating.